All right, guys, we are live. This is the Shillin and Duffy Show on SureDog.com. We are recapping UFC 297 that just went down in Toronto, Canada. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillin. Joining me, as always, is the senior editor of SureDog.com. He, of course, is the great Ben Duffy. Ben, we got a lot to talk about. Kind of a crazy night. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We thank you guys for being there. We'll try to get to as many comments as possible. We had 2 title fights go down. We had 12 fights in total. And we have 2 new champions as both Dricus du Plessis and Raquel Pennington took home the gold. Main event was as close of a fight that can be. I'm looking at MMA decisions right now. I think it's 13 people gave it for Dricus du Plessis. 10 people gave it to Sean Strickland. Ben, we were on opposite sides of the picks. I picked Sean Strickland. You did pick Dricus du Plessis. But in the scoring, we were actually on opposite sides again. But the other way, I scored the fight for Dricus du Plessis. You did for Sean Strickland. Tell me what round you had for Sean Strickland.
I gave Sean Strickland rounds 1, 2, and 5.
Okay. So the only thing we had different was round 2. I gave that one to du Plessis. So I gave du Plessis the middle rounds. I gave Strickland the first and the fifth. So let's get right into let's go round by round. I've seen a lot of people. People tweeting, "Oh, what a war! What is this?" I'm like, I completely disagree. I thought it was kind of boring. Not boring. They would still punch each other in the face, but just not a fight that I'm gonna think about years from now. Not a fight I'm gonna tell my kids to watch or grandkids to watch.
After the co-main, it felt like Ali Frazier. Yeah. It was deliberate, and there was great game planning and interesting adjustments between rounds. It would be a fun fight to kind of go back and look at down the road and kind of dig into like that minutia, but it wasn't a barn burner. Like, this was not Prochazka versus Teixeira or some shit. Like, it was a very deliberate, very close fight that never really got all the way out of second gear.
Yeah. And so I'm going to say a statement. You tell me if you agree. Okay. I believe Dricus du Plessis, in a close match, did everything possible he could to win this fight, while Sean Strickland did not do that. And that's why Dricus du Plessis is a champion.
I agree. And I think we're going to get to this soon, because obviously we're going to do matchmaking for some of these top fights, but you know me as the guy that is generally very averse to immediate title rematches. I just think it's unfair to everybody involved. But here, I agree. Du Plessis, he's still a developing fighter. He's over 30, but he feels young in the game. He's clearly developing from fight to fight. But the version of du Plessis that exists right now fought about as good a fight as he could against Strickland, and barely won, if you think he won. I feel Strickland, and it's easy for me to armchair this, but it feels as though Strickland left a lot of low-hanging fruit unpicked. There were simple things that he could have done or just keep doing that he stopped doing that probably cost him the fight.
So I'm watching the first round. I'm watching about the first half of the first round, and I'm seeing Strickland jabbing him up. I see Strickland teep kicking him. I see him checking every leg kick, and I'm sitting like, oh my God, this might be a trashing. Like, this could get really ugly. I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and I'm like, wow, he's piecing him up, and he's not even throwing his power shots yet.
Oh, dude. First round, I'm the guy that picked du Plessis. I'm like, du Plessis is going to look silly, and so am I. Because I agree. Strickland controlled that first round. The jab was on point. The teep was on point. And even at the very end of the round, he lands one big right hand with like 8 seconds left. And when du Plessis just goes wild, swinging, trying to get it back, I'm like, Strickland's going to knock this guy out in the first half of the next round. Like he's got Du Plessis rattled. That was not the case, but no, I completely agree.
Yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm like, he's going to punish me. He's going to walk into some things. Everything's working for about 3 minutes into the first round. Everything is perfect for Strickland. And I'm like, man, he's going to start sitting on some of his punches, landing some hooks, landing some straight rights. And then, Du Plessis, to his credit, he's pressing the action. He's forcing Strickland his back foot. Strickland has never taken steps forward. He's kind of backing up with Du Plessis never taking a step back. He's shooting for takedowns. He got a couple takedowns. Didn't do anything with them, but got takedowns. He threw a lot of looping punches and looping kicks that were deflected from Strickland, but still looks good to the judges. And we'll get to the second round, and that's the one that's in contention. You said you gave Strickland the fifth round. You said
I guess Strickland
second, fifth, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we had all the rounds the same except for the second. I just wanted to double check because I saw some people in the chat questioning me. I thought I said something wrong. So I feel like he was doing everything he could. And then it gets to the second round. And I'm watching the second round, and Strickland's doing more of the same, but the jab he's throwing a little bit less. He's landing it a little bit less because Du Plessis kind of sees it coming more. And I'm just saying, dude, when is he going to throw the right hand? Like, I understand, everything comes off the jab. But yeah, the whole point is everything comes off the jab. The jab sets other things up. And it's like, I felt like I was watching a football team, 3rd and 5, hand off again. 3rd and 6, hand off again. It's like, Jesus Christ, sometimes you got to play action and throw the ball. Yeah. And that's what I felt. And so I'm watching the second round. And again, this is probably the closest round. I saw very few power shots for Du Plessis land, but between that and a takedown, to me, he stole the round in the second. And I was sitting there and I'm like, yeah, Strickland probably landed more, but did he hurt him? Did he really affect him? And I know, at the end of the first, I was puffing up and I'm sure he was, worse, but I'm sitting there and I'm looking at his opponent with his eye getting, closing up like this on the right side. I'm like, why isn't he throwing that right hand? And I thought he gave away. That was the round that I saw a lot of people. Some people gave, had Strickland up 2-0. A lot of people had it 1-1. Why did you give it to Strickland?
I mean, I didn't really count the takedown for much. It was a nice emphatic takedown, but Strickland popped up immediately, almost hit like a standing switch to explode away from the fence. It didn't affect much. So it really comes down to Strickland probably landing greater volume, not quite as much heat on each shot, where the hardest individual shots were probably from Du Plessis. But, I mean, if I watch it again in 6 weeks, I might score it differently. The second and third rounds in particular, I thought were pretty tough to score. And those are the 2 rounds where none of the 3 Sherdog scorers agreed on them. Clearly, there was some disagreement among the judges since we got a split decision. I wouldn't be surprised if those were the rounds that they had the toughest time scoring as well.
Yeah, I want to address somebody in the chat, and I hope I'm not addressing him particularly, but people in general. I clicked the wrong one. Garrett Clemens, he's very upset. Probably was rooting for Sean Strickland, which I think a majority of people were. I don't like the, you got to beat the champion to get the title. It's like, yeah, he did. He won 3 out of 5 rounds. That's how you beat the champion. Like, it's MMA is the only, and I'm not picking on this guy. Like, I mean, I'm sure he's a great dude. And obviously he's watching our show at 2 a.m. So I know he's not a casual, no other sport do we say that. No one says like, all right, like the Chiefs are the Super Bowl champions. They play the Bills tomorrow. If the Bills win the game 20-19, no one goes, oh, no, you got to really beat the champion. You can't win by 1 point. Like, no, you got to win by at least 2 touchdowns to beat the champion.
And
what does that mean?
Keep in mind,
MMA, the guy won.
The person who said that, who really made it famous in the modern era, Muhammad Ali, Two things to remember when he said you got to beat the champ to be the champ. One, he was talking about guys that literally had not fought him at all because he was forced out of boxing for not going in the draft. So it's not like you got to beat me bad. You got to beat me, period. You're not the real champ until I fight. Two, exactly. He was trying to prod them into and promote a fight with himself. That doesn't really reflect his overall philosophy on fighting. It was a soundbite to like rile Frazier into fighting him. Like it's like don't take an offhand comment by a guy that was a comedian on the mic and make it into your philosophy.
Yeah. So it gets to the third round, and this is the round that I thought was, the tide was really starting to turn a little bit for Du Plessis. I thought he started landing more. I felt like this was a round that I thought he threw more, and I think I felt like Strickland's output kind of waned. It seemed like he was throwing a jab instead of every 15 seconds. Now he's throwing every like 30 seconds. Still not throwing. Did Sean Strickland throw a hook before the fifth round?
No, it was 90% jabs, 10% right crosses. Because again, he stopped throwing the teep completely after round one. Though credit to Dricus Du Plessis for that, because you're never going to take away Sean Strickland's jab unless you kill him. But you can jab while you're backing up. You can't throw a front kick while you're backing up. Like, try it sometime. Just don't do it near the top of stairs because you will die. So, I mean, all he really had to do was come forward and say, okay, I'm going to eat a few jabs as I march forward on this guy, but at least he won't be able to kick me in the gut anymore. And that's pretty much all it took.
Yeah, I want to address one more thing. People who scored it for Strickland, that's fine. Like the fight was super close. Like I have no issue with anybody scoring for Strickland. You scored for Strickland.
I scored it for Strickland.
Yeah. Like and other, we may disagree about how a fight is scored, but I never go, oh Ben, you know what the hell you're talking about? Like, go watch golf or some, There's no way you could watch this fight and have the fight go for either guy and go, that was a robbery. Oh, that was a robbery. I had it through. Like, stop. Stop. The first round was probably the only round that was decisive for either guy. So let's get to the fourth. The fourth round was, in my opinion, it still wasn't a really decisive round, but I thought it was Du Plessis' best round because that's when he landed the cut. He cut him with an elbow, was really bothering Strickland, and then he got he got one or two takedowns. Again, never did anything with takedowns, but I'm just adding in, those moments in the moments that'll stand out in that round. Strickland kept doing what he did the whole fight. Kept jabbing, doing nothing. Kept jabbing, doing nothing. Strickland didn't hurt him. I think he landed one really clean punch early in the first round. That was like, oh, that was a good shot. And then I don't think he hurt him again until like the fifth round.
I mean, I'm not remembering anything to suggest that you're wrong there. Like that sounds about right to me. Again, I was doing Sherdog's text play-by-play, so right now I just feel like I've had like voltage running through my brain for 6 hours, but that matches my memory of it.
And then the fifth round, to me, they both had moments, but to me, Strickland was really he finally started sitting on his punches. He was landing the kind of like counter overhand right. Had actually at one point had Du Plessis backing up, which he really didn't have him backing up the entire fight. And that's where I gave it to Strickland. I thought Strickland's corner did a terrible job. And I think Eric Nicksick might be the best coach at MMA.
Agreed.
He kept saying like, all right, I want to pick up the pace. But to me, I'd be like, no, like, dude, like, let your hands go. Like, we really need you throwing. Like, I felt like he wasn't stressing. I'm like, all right, let's pick it up a little bit now, and never like, hey, I would throw other things than just a fucking jab. But like, what are you doing, man? Like, you need one of those, like, coach losing on a guy. Like, we came here, like, we need these rounds. The last fourth and fifth round, like, dude, you're the guy that takes over late. Like, fucking put it in the air. I felt like this was this reminded me of that old kid story, the tortoise and the hare, where like Strickland started off really hot, then suddenly I don't know, was taking a nap or something from rounds 2 through 4, and then all of a sudden fifth round he's like, oh shit, I got to catch up, and he starts sprinting, but the turtle across the finish line.
Yeah. I mean, not making excuses. They don't need me to make excuses for them. They haven't said anything, but I wouldn't be shocked if something came out like he did something to his right hand late in camp. And they're like, we're not dropping this fight, but
oh, maybe. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I have no specific reason to believe that, except that at least since the Pereira fight, Strickland's game plans and adjustments have been pretty damn on point.
Yeah. So when we do the preview, we do it on Sunday. So it was, it's kind of before fight week. Our preview kind of like kicks off our fight week. So we don't cover and what happened on Embedded and what happened at the press conference, and obviously we're taping before that. I thought the promo that they play, at the previous, week's event for this, I thought it was one of the best ones. I was super pumped. The whole trash talk, the going on Theo Vaughn show, and I'm gonna freaking stab him. He said, like, I was so into this fight. How'd you feel about how they were the rest of this week? I mean, hugging on Embedded, respecting, handshaking, and like,
it's fine. Like, if they really are at peace with each other, great. But you know what they did? They just kicked a potential blockbuster rematch right in the nuts, and just whatever they say during the build up to the next fight, it's gonna be like, yeah, whatever. And it's also considering that the third man in the room here is Israel Adesanya, who has had combative relationships with both of these guys and might be next if they don't run a rematch. It also hurts the promotional potential of that.
Yeah, like I would have enjoyed more trash talk. I would have enjoyed Strickland saying, like, dude, what are you talking about? I didn't lose that fight. Look at his eye. Go. Yeah, again, go kiss your coach and stuff. Like, Strickland can be extremely marketable. I mean, he was the star heading into this fight week. His stardom grew based on media day. I mean, he was already like extremely popular, but I felt like he took it to another, right or wrong. I know there's many people who think it was, oh my God, I love this guy. He's so brash. He says things. He said things about, this protected community. And then you have another side saying, like, oh my God, he crossed the line. You shouldn't be saying things about a marginalized community. Like, whatever. Like, that's not where we're taking a stand on. But if you have a personality, that Strickland has a personality that a lot of people connect with, you don't have to be an excited fighter. Sean Strickland is not an excited fighter.
No. George St. Pierre is at worst one of the 5 biggest stars in MMA history, and he was wretchedly boring during his title reign.
John Jones had many moments of being boring. Anderson Silva, for all his incredible, starching Forrest Griffin and head kicking Vitor Belfort, he had some horrendously boring fights. Colby Covington has had some terribly boring, performances. Izzy had, the Yoel Romero fight and the Jared Cannonier fight. So you don't have to be exciting in the cage. Like, I had people messaging me, people who don't follow me, like, oh my God, you see this video? Like, they got like one of these shorts of him going off on Alex Lee there. So that was a big, long build up for me to ask, do you think the UFC having a champion from South Africa was a good thing tonight, or did the UFC lose tonight by having Strickland not be the champion?
All things being equal, I think consistency is good. Like, with consider that the real cash base of the UFC, it's not you and me, people that watch every single card. Yeah. It's not even like the semi-hardcores that watch half the cards. It's dudes that tune in for not even all the pay-per-views, like 6 a year. Your champs need longevity for those millions of people to get to know their names. So all else being equal, changing champs twice a year is not a good thing. Having said that, Du Plessis, I mean, he is generally in pretty exciting fights because he's usually losing until he destroys the guy. He is a good talker, speaks English just fine. Subjectively, I think he's probably a good-looking guy. That can maybe get some.
He's like an alpha, like, male kind of, like, he looks like a pro wrestler.
Yes, exactly. There's no problem here. It's not like
his girlfriend is crazy hot.
There, like it's not like Strickland lost to like Magomed Ankalaev or Talis Leches or just some dude that's just like watching paint dry.
So if an Izzy fight happens with Du Plessis, I mean that sells itself. Like you don't need to be really good at marketing, but Chimaev's on the sidelines, and this like everything falls through. Just say everything falls through. Izzy really is taking 4 years off, whatever nonsense he's saying, and suddenly, Strickland, you're like, we don't want to do, rematch right away. How do you sell? Like, how do you market Du Plessis without that other side? Like, you're stuck with Jared Cannonier getting his house shot. Like, how would you market this guy if you were the UFC?
Partially, I even if he doesn't have a clear B side or doesn't have a clear A side, he talks enough that I think he's going to draw some interest out of just about anybody. He likes to kind of go after guys. So even if you matched him against a Cannonier type, there'd be some stuff. He'd get Cannonier mad enough to shove him at the weigh-ins.
I mean, the perfect scenario, if all that falls through, is if, and I don't expect this to happen, is Paulo Costa beating Robert Whittaker.
Yeah, Paulo Costa, that would be gold. He's slipped a little bit, but man, Marvin Vettori and him in the same room, like the amount of just anger.
Yeah. Testosterone.
Yeah. Like I don't foresee too much of a problem with it. And at the very worst, even him versus Cannonier or him versus Costa, you put up their sizzle reels. The UFC is going to be able to cook up 3 minutes of highlights that's going to make you think that one of these guys is going to kick the other's head into orbit.
Yeah.
Because his fights, Du Plessis' fights before this all ended in pretty brutal finishes. Yeah. He's got an impressive highlight reel for a guy with 6 UFC fights.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the rise. And thank you very much, Vincent, for the tip there. Yeah, that's I think that's why you sell it. You sell it the guy that no one has ever came from this area. The star of this area, and he is a maniac. He fights like a maniac. He's so unconventional. You sell that side. We haven't seen anybody fight like him before. Get some good sound bites of him saying shit. Have him fighting, Strickland. And I'll tell you right now, the fight in the crowd was more exciting than the actual fight. I mean, Strickland landed more right hands in 25 seconds in the crowd than he did in 25 minutes tonight. I definitely think the right matchup for Strickland you can still build off of, and especially if he says some crazy shit, which I like Alex. I want to be very careful. I like Alex Cayley. Like I've done shows with him. He's a wicked nice dude. He also knew he got what he wanted. He got the reaction he was looking for. I don't think he expected it to be to the degree that it was, but he wanted a soundbite.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm guilty. I've done the same thing to people.
And you know what? Even if the likely answer is going to be combative and not to the point of the question, that was a fair question to ask. Like if nobody had asked anything about that, I would have been a little disappointed in MMA media collectively. So in some ways he took the bullet.
It was a couple of years old though. It wasn't like the most, well, he said it last week. But yeah, like I like Alex Cayley. So what's the next thing he's going to say? Like you know how I feel. People tweet out and they say, "Oh my God, he needs." I saw a TikTok video where the girl was calling for him to be like removed from the card and cancel the card and all this stuff. I have that Dana White marketing thing in me. We're like, wait, he said what? Yeah, how do we get that out so everyone sees it? Mm-hmm. Like I have that. Like, okay, like, but that was you got to piss off a lot of people. Cool. Like that's the business we're in. Like let's make this that's why other controversial people who say outlandish things on both sides or wherever. What's that guy there? He's super popular. He's kickbox. He was a kickboxer. He got into it with Jake Paul. He's like, I don't know. He's very brash. He's like an influence. I don't know how he's famous. He used to be a kickboxer. And
wait, we're not talking about the guy that got jailed in like the Czech Republic.
Yeah, but wasn't it bullshit?
Yeah.
Someone go to chat his name. Not Dylan Dennis.
No.
Bald head. Andrew Tate.
Thank you. Yeah,
that guy. You know, if Sean Strickland becomes, which seems like he is, MMA's Andrew Tate, there's going to be a shitload of people who hate him. There's going to be people who love him, and there you go. That's good for the UFC. So that said, let's do some matchmaking.
Okay.
Because I don't go too far down this road. You want to do Strickland first? Or you want to do Du Plessis first?
Might as well do Strickland first. But I mean, first thing out of my mouth, as much as I generally dislike immediate title rematches, I wouldn't be too mad at this one.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's do like a little different than we normally do. Let me give you four possibilities and rank them.
Okay.
Number one, immediate rematch with Sean Strickland. 2, Izzy match. 3, Chimaev match. 4, Jared Cannonier match. And you know what? I'll go 5th one because Du Plessis seems like he's pushing this one, but nobody else is. Alex Pereira, him moving up to 205 Finland. Rank those 5. And people in the chat, rank those 5, 1 through 5.
Chimaev last. Like, just I
okay.
It doesn't make sense from a merit standpoint. It's making less and less sense from a promotional standpoint. He's with every passing card and every passing weird social media tweet by Chimaev, he's turning into the weird uncle that everybody's going to start ignoring. Like, at least when Conor McGregor feels called upon to tweet after every major fight in any of the divisions he fought in, he has some actual accomplishments to back that up. Chimaev is a prospect who's been stuck in limbo for like 3 years, is what it feels like.
I mean, he's coming off win over former UFC, long-reigning UFC champion. I mean, I know that's a different weight class, but yeah, he beat Gilbert Burns. He got some wins. I mean, not in middleweight, but he's got some wins. But okay, so that's fine. What's your number 4?
Moving out of his weight class.
Okay, all right.
Like, when you're that new a champ, there's no reason.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put that 5th.
Yeah, okay. I'm fine with those.
And there's other guys. I mean, you have Jamal Hill coming back. You have Ankalaev. Like, there's other guys in that way. So, like, you kind of need 2 things to happen. You need to be this dominant champion and also not having somebody who's rightfully – like, there's always going to be someone who deserves the title shot, but it's kind of like deserves it or is more marketable right now. Like, you have to be the right matchup at that time, and just that's not it. Okay, so that's my 5th. So your 4th was that one. Okay, what's your 3rd?
Probably rematch. Like, okay. Again, like I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't be like up in arms about it, but it's not my first pick either.
Yeah. And I'm second. I'm assuming Cannonier.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going Izzy.
I'm going Izzy. Like,
okay, all right. I'll do mine real quick, and we'll talk specifically about the Izzy. So okay. I already said 5 is Pereira. 4 to me is Cannonier, just because it's the less. You know me, I'm always looking for marketability too. That's the least marketable. 3 would be. I'm trying to think. 3 would be an instant rematch. If it was an all-time war, then I'm much more likely to do a rematch. But like, or if Strickland was one of these champions who had the belt for such a long time, but he never defended his belt. 2, to me, I'm doing Chimaev. I agree. Like, he doesn't have the merit, but dude, you could sell that fight. And to me, number 1, I mean, it's easy. I mean, the long reigning champion, both from Africa. They've had beefs. That's the one. No, so we both agree, and it seems like a lot of people are saying Izzy's most likely in the top pick. Does it have to be in Africa? Like, how much of a waste would it be if it wasn't in Africa?
It would be a waste. Just it would be a colossal waste. The UFC has missed, not even swung and missed, just watched strikes go by so many times with Africa.
Yeah.
You had at one point 3 African champions and just plunk, plunk, plunk. And like, obviously du Plessis has kind of picked at some of their Africa credentials, like accusing them of having left Africa to
which
places
is super
better,
smart.
Which
smart
is super
advertising.
Smart, but where it matters, Africa fucking loves those guys.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
Kamaru Usman, like basically never lived in Africa, and Africa fucking loved him. Yeah. And then Francis Ngannou, dude, they would put him on the money of Cameroon if you want to fight there.
Yeah.
Insert your jokes here.
Yeah. Like Kamaru Usman in Africa is like Eddie Murphy and Coming to America. Like he's more African, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, here, and for what it's worth, Dana says a lot of things, but when he says he's really motivated to do UFC Africa before he retires, before he dies, I do believe him. And if he doesn't do it now, dude, so overcome the boundaries.
A lot of people are saying UFC 300. That's cool. I feel like the UFC screwed at UFC 300. I think no matter what they do, it's going to feel like a disappointment.
I'm not trying to be like hipster and contrarian by saying this, but UFC 299 is much better than UFC 300. It's the exact same thing that happened to UFC 200.
Yeah, I'd have to look. In fairness to UFC 200, in fairness, well, they were bringing back Brock Lesnar, which was good, was massive, and then the main event fell apart the week of the fight.
And they called Connor's bluff because he was supposed to be on 200. He started squawking about his media obligations. They were like, "Okay, cool, we're bigger than you."
Yeah, but they had an all-time rivalry.
For the first time. Yeah,
they had an all-time rivalry with, one of the biggest rivalries in the history of John Jones and DC, two of the greatest fighters. Like, yeah. I give him a little bit of pass on that. John Jones doing John Jones shit the week of UFC. Yeah, to me, if you just stack up UFC 300 with everything, it's just a number. To me, there'll be a UFC 400 one day. There'll be a UFC 500 one day. Yeah. You know, if you could do UFC Africa with 2 African champions or African stars, one African champion and one former champion, whether it be in, I don't know, Nigeria, whether you do it in South Africa, like, you know, I don't know the logistics. I'm sure it's extremely hard to do. But man, you can have them, UFC's version of Rumble in the Jungle, promote it that way. Have old clips of Ali and Foreman and Ali walking through the streets of Africa with the children and all the crowds around them, and you can have a moment like that. You know, you can kind of clash back from that, and then all of a sudden see Izzy doing the same thing, and you got to do it. You got to do it. There's no like. You want to go in the spear and you did a fight island and all, dude, get in Africa. Just make it happen. Say, and get one employee and go, dude, your whole job is to freaking call everybody in Africa, freaking make it happen.
And this is not a ridiculous ask. Talking just specifically about those 2 countries, Nigeria and South Africa, those are developed countries with serious infrastructure. You're not trying to put on these fights in a complete hellhole.
It's like Miami.
Yeah, like
beautiful
it's
beaches
doable.
And big city. Yeah.
If the UFC can put on cards in like 2nd-tier cities in Brazil, it can put on fights in Nigeria and South Africa.
Yeah. We're not saying go in the the safaris of Kenya, and you got a cage in the middle and there's freaking tigers walking around. Like, yeah, like we're talking about Johannesburg, or parts of Nigeria. Yeah, that's what I do. So that leaves Strickland. Strickland's still going to be a big name. He's still controversial. So to me, I got to give him a name. I'm giving him Chimaev.
I like that just fine. I like making Chimaev show up, do his media obligations, make weight,
Yeah.
And like, as far as I'm concerned, if he can do that and he can beat a top 10 fighter, he has a do not pass go, like free pass to a title shot for 6 months. Because, dude, when he gets distracted, he gets all emo. He puts on a ton of weight. He starts posting that he's sick, that he's retiring. He's twice now that he's posted that he's sick. Once he posted he's retiring because he's sick. Dude, I hate to say this about a grown man who could like kill me with his hands and feet in 45 seconds, but he acts like a fucking baby. Like, he's just not a mature person.
Yeah. I just want I want Strickland to threaten to stab some guy and be in Chimaev, and Chimaev be like, "No, you're the first person. You ain't the first person to stab me, dude." You know, like you know, they suddenly they have a knife fight at the freaking press conference or some shit. You know, the talk alone. I just that would be fun. That'd be sick. They'd be fighting. I want Strickland and Chimaev, like, you know, and then stylistically, it's a very intriguing matchup stylistically. You know,
agreed. Like, nothing would shock me there, because I predicted tonight that Du Plessis was going to be too fast, too strong, too explosive, and kind of ragdoll Strickland around a little bit. I had him by TKO in the middle rounds, and I figured it would be just after suplexing him and pounding him out. Those are all things that at his best, Chimaev would be even more capable of. He's a freakish athlete at 185, freakishly strong and fast. But you know what? At the same time, I wouldn't be that shocked if Strickland just the whole fight looked like round one of this fight, and just Chimaev was mystified and didn't know what to do, and Strickland just made him look silly. That wouldn't shock me either.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like how many, like, we've never had to watch Chimaev make adjustments. The worst we've seen him have to do is do something for 2 rounds instead of 1 and see if he gets tired.
Yeah.
But he's never really had to adjust to a threat from his opponent.
To me, you put it on a major card and I make it 5 rounds. Like, it has to be 5 rounds, not 3 rounds.
Yeah.
No more.
Yeah. I would love to see him fight for a scheduled 5-round fight, you know, before he moves on to a title shot.
Let's go on. That wasn't the only champion to be crowned tonight, as Raquel Pennington, Rocky, been in the UFC for 100 years, and now she's a UFC champion as she beat Mayra Bueno Silva by unanimous decision. I was doing a round by round breakdown because I thought it looked like it was gonna be a really close fight. I'm assuming you scored the same way I did. I gave Bueno Silva the first round. I gave all the rest of the rounds to Pennington.
Yes, and I gave Pennington a 10-8 round in the 5th.
Okay, yeah, I get it. She had some. Listen, this is exact. So that was one of our consensus underdog picks. We both picked the underdog in Pennington there. This is how the division's going to be. You know, Raquel Pennington, Mayra Bueno Silva. It was going to be. We knew it was going to be a lot of clinching. I mean, anybody who's ever seen Raquel Pennington fight in the last decade, this is every one of her fights. I was surprised that, you know, I was surprised how successful Mayra Bueno Silva was with the clinch game early. Like, I thought she'd have 6. I thought about 50-50. I didn't think it should be had that much just. But it is exactly like, listen, we're not ones that brag about making, you know, I picked this guy to win, like, unless it goes that way. I felt like we got this read right. Like, it was going to be Pennington wearing her down, doing a Raquel Pennington wearing it down. And I remember in the first round, Bueno Silva had obviously her best round. She had her back. And there was one moment where Pennington got back up to her feet with Bueno Silva backpacking her, and she did like the old baseball grab, taking it, bringing it over your head kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking the amount of energy Bueno Silva was spending and how calm Pennington was. I go, I'm even more. She just lost the first round. I'm even more confident in my pick now. I go, because this is exactly like she's gonna hit, and then she started slowing down worse and worse. I thought her cardio was a little better than like the commentary was talking about. Like, she was still throwing up submissions and this and that, but it just became more and more Pennington. And this is a weak division. It's not going to be a sex division. I think champions might be passing the belt from here to there to there. You know, merry-go-round where there's not going to be many marketable one. But I'll say this, and this is not going to be a popular take. There is a nice story about Pennington winning the title. Because think about this for a second. This is a girl who's been in the UFC for like 12 years, 13 years, something like that. Always been right there. But that's not what. The last time she fought for the title, she got beat up so bad that she asked her coaches to stop the fight. Nobody's ever done that. You know, we usually have to say, "Oh my God, stop the fight!" Like a punishment your fighter's getting, but they don't ask for it. The amount of shit she got from people who doesn't have a 1 ounce of toughness that she has, calling her a wimp and a bitch, and oh my God, your biggest moment, for like 5 years, 6 years later, whatever it was, to win the UFC title. Yes, she didn't beat Amanda Nunes. She didn't beat Julian Pennington. She didn't beat a big star. To me, it was still a really nice moment.
I completely agree. Like, yes, it was a terrible fight. Yes, she is a vulnerable champ now, to say the least. But what possible better ending for her? I agree. Like, she was dismissed in a lot of ways, ridiculed after the Amanda Nunes fight, even though, dude, like, what a historic beating she endured. Yeah, I'm great moment for her. And it kind of changes the whole narrative of her career, like in a much smaller, reduced way that the late career title win did for Michael Bisping.
Yeah. For the rest of her life, she gets to call herself a UFC champion.
Yep.
You know, no one will ever be able to take that away.
And considering the current state of that division, she might actually rack up a defense or two. She'll be an underdog, but she was an underdog this time, and she thrashed that woman. Like, that division is so old.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't tacked him up, but probably the next 5 challengers are people she's already fought. Maybe 3, maybe twice. Like Holly Holm, and we're
gonna have Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington in 3. Oh man. Shout out also to you, because not only did we make this pick, but Ben called this during our fantasy draft, drafting Raquel Pennington. So nice job by you getting the championship for one that a lot of people are giving up on. So
yeah,
nice job. You must be killing everybody in that thing.
I got to do an update.
Yeah, sure. I think I got Manel Cobb getting freaking missing. I got to be in the negatives. Yeah, it just, when I think of like all time unlikely champions, I think of like Jan Blachowicz. You know, if you told me one point of his career, you know, I think of Robbie Lawler when he was losing fights in like Strikeforce and stuff. Glover Teixeira and the Raquel Pennington. If you go back to when she lost to Holly Holm again the second time, if you told me that she was going to run off 6 straight wins and win the UFC title, I would, no way. Again, I would have been saying, "Oh, she's gonna be Amanda Nunes." Yeah, obviously, you know, not all title wins are the same, but you know what? I'm glad for her.
Completely, very, very happy for her.
Anything in the fight surprise
you? Well, here's the thing. You and I both thought this is a fight where Pennington would have to fight off the onslaught, wear her opponent down late. The only thing is, I thought that tipping point would come probably in the middle of the 3rd round, and instead it came late in the 1st, where, oh man, like Pennington's already starting to grab the momentum back. That was really the only thing. I agree that Bueno Silva may not have been quite as exhausted as the booth made it sound. Like, this was not Kimbo Slice versus Houston Alexander, where they're like just standing in the middle of the cage with their hands on their knees. But the other alternative is that she kind of wilted. And in some ways, that might be a tougher thing, because there are some fighters who change their cardio over the course of their career. There are fewer that change a tendency to be a front runner. Yeah. Like, you have to think of just the very precious few, the Charles Oliveira's of the world. So, but like nothing shocking. This was our unanimous upset pick. Nailed it. Congratulations, us.
Yeah. I tried thinking about, so you know, the UFC, I think they have their work cut out for, you know, marketing the two champions. You know, Duplessis is a lot easier to market than Raquel Pennington. How the hell do you market her?
Her and Tisha Torres at home washing the dishes. I don't know, because again, I love the idea of Raquel Pennington, but her fights are grindy at best. Like, in a lot of ways, this was her most entertaining fight, at least most entertaining win. Like, she did like the mini Rocky thing and came back. Her personality is dull, like of her and her, you know, nearly equally famous wife. Like, Tisha's the cute one with like the quick wit. Raquel is the very much the I can't say the straight woman because neither of them is straight, but you know what I mean. Like, she's
So she won't even play the game. Like, you know, I think about Media Week when people were trying to toss softballs for Sean Strickland comments and things he said, and she played it a little bit, but not really. Like, she's like, I'm not even thinking about him. Like, you know, I'm hoping Duplessis wins, but like she wouldn't even take the bait. So like, you can't even do like, oh, people, you guys don't like, you know, you don't like what Strickland said. Well, we have another person who's like the champion for, you know, the gay and lesbian community, and you can kind of. She won't even play that. I mean, like, she'll play up like she's gay, but I'm saying she won't like play up like the talk shit about Strickland and like fight that other angle. Like, she wouldn't even play that game. It's like, I don't know how you do it. I was thinking maybe you do it like Moreno, how you did Moreno, like this. People gave up, underdog, unbelievable thing, and then suddenly, you know, she wins. Maybe to that, like, kind of like a. Remember when Mick Foley won the WWF championship, and it was like, what, Mick Foley? Like, he was like the lovable kind of loser guy, kind of like he doesn't have the body, you know.
Like, he was like, Mankind, like the crazy one,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he won the title, and like, I mean, WCW didn't think it was going to work, and then they said, "Oh, he wins the title." I was like, "What? I gotta see this." Like, I don't know, maybe try some kind of thing like that. Like, such an unlikely story. I don't know. I don't know. Good luck. That's why I'm a marketing major. Good luck on this one.
Yeah. Just a quick one for Vincent here. Whatever ignorant things Strickland may have said during fight week, he was dead on about the quality of these divisions. Like, and I feel bad saying it, but the women's divisions, just in terms of skill development, continue to lag behind the men's. And all you need to become up to speed on that is watch any high level, you know, ranked women's fight in the UFC that Cruz and or Cormier are on commentary for, because they will pick apart one by one. Like, you may say, man, every women's flyweight fight is boring and they spend a ton of time clinching against the fence. And he'll explain, they're stuck against the fence because neither of them knows how to pummel. They don't know how to get off the fence. So as soon as someone clinches, neither of them knows what to do about it. Be clinching for a full minute. Like, that's all you need. It lags behind, and that's it. Okay. Like,
I'm gonna ask you a question. Buy or sell? We'll do it ESPN style. Buy or sell? Tatiana Suarez. I know she just got injured again. God, who knows? But say she's healthy. She fights at 115 pounds. Tatiana Suarez somehow said, "You know what? I want to fight at 135. Fights Raquel Pennington tomorrow. Does she beat her?"
Yes. Like, just healthy, but not built up. Just her, whatever her walking weight is. Say she walks around at like 129. But here's the thing. I wouldn't pick them to beat her, but I also think that Carla Esparza or Weili Zhang could probably take her down.
Oh.
Like, I think Weili would just hoist her over.
I think Weili would. I don't think Carla would. Carla's too small. Like, she's so small. Like, Tatiana Suarez not. But yeah, my point is, I would take Tatiana Suarez to win at 135 pounds right now.
Yeah, completely agree.
So they seem like they were already marketing the Julia Pena matchup. I mean, Julia Pena will talk. I don't know if that. She will talk shit, dude. And she comes off like the bad guy. So maybe Julia Pena does it for you. Like,
she is the female Tito Ortiz. Like, she thinks she's a great trash talker, but mostly she just trips over her own words and says dumb things that are unintentionally funny because they're just so busted.
Yeah,
like, she's the female Tito.
When Amanda Nunes is the greatest female fighter, some people put her as the greatest fighter ever based on accomplishments. is retiring and you start like trying to talk over her and booing, like, come on, what are you doing? Like, you really want her to stick around one more fight to kick the shit out of you again? Like, is like it's a good thing for you, Juliana Pena, that Amanda is leaving. Maybe that's the angle. Maybe Juliana Pena does it for you. Maybe Dubon just talks so much shit and gets so annoying that you know everyone wants to see her lose, and that makes Raquel Pennington like the hero. I don't know. I still don't think that happens, but I mean, is there any other fight you do other than Juliana Pena?
Yeah, Valentina Shevchenko.
What'd you say? Shevchenko?
Valentina Shevchenko.
Oh, you want to do that? You'd have her move up, not just do
move up. Claim what is yours. She would dog walk either of those women. John Butterfield.
No, I think she's declining. I do think she's declining. I mean, it's easy. I
think she's declining, but some of that decline, I think, would be remedied by moving up to 135.
Yeah, and it's real bold of me to go. I think she's declining after she's 2 fights ago she lost and then she had to draw another one. She's winless in the last 2 fights. Very bold of me to say that.
Yeah. But I mean, having been face to face with her a few times, she's a big woman. Like she's got that Holly Holm thing where the tail of the tape doesn't tell the story because she's got muscles on her muscles.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a 135 pounder and she was a top 535 pounder who came really, really close to beating Amanda Nunes. Like, and moving back up, she doesn't have to deal with that weight cut anymore. The speed advantage that she enjoyed at 125, some of that comes back. Maybe it's the right move.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people. I mean, I know the Grasso third fight is probably going to happen. I don't think people dying for that fight to happen. So you go Shevchenko. I'd do Juliana Pena because you know why? Because if Juliana Pena wins, Shevchenko versus Pena is even more marketable.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with Shevchenko.
I know they already fought.
Yeah, but women's flyweight is going to go like men's flyweight because if Shevchenko wins, are we going to get a fourth fight? Just like Figueiredo and Moreno?
A fourth fight with
Grasso.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
So,
yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
John Butterfield, just addressing his thing real quick. Of the 125-pound up-and-comers, Montefiore is the oldest and physically just the one with the body that you're like, yeah, she could do bantamweight, no problem. I don't hate that at all. And she'd be marketable. She's not a huge talker, but I mean, she's cute as a button, and her fights are generally quite exciting.
You know what? And I'm not want this to happen, but freaking Caitlin Chikagian could go up to 135, and I'd pick her to win.
Yeah, she's pretty good at 135. Like she's
Oh,
and that dude, I'm aging as I think about any fight with her and any of these women we're talking about at 135. I'm like the dude that picked the wrong Grail in Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade. I'm just crumbling into dust thinking about this.
So real quick, we'll move on. But Bueno Silva, give me a matchup for her. Or you do not care? Just anybody?
Honestly, just anybody. If you believe in her, give her a winnable fight against
somebody in that range,
or like a Yazdavicius or Cachoeira type. If you don't believe in her, then build one of the Aaron Blanchfields of the world off of her.
Okay, I wrote down Caitlin Vieira in like a fight night main card fight or something like that. Before that, Mike Malott took on Neil Magny, and I had all these notes written down and had to throw them all out.
Give this man his middle name.
Neil.
I don't know how you say fucking in Haitian Creole, but Neil fucking Magny, it was something because it wasn't even like a slow comeback where he's hulking out and ripping off the shirt or something like that. It's not a Rocky thing. He was getting trucked. The thing turned on a dime. Malott made one mistake, suddenly looked a little bit tired, and Magny just destroyed him.
Yeah.
It was the closest thing I can think of to it is honestly Magny fight with Hector Lombard.
He looked like he got hit with a tranquilizer. Like just suddenly like he got super tired, like or like he was in surgery. They just put the mask over him with the anesthesia, and he was just like, "Why can't I keep my eyes open?" Like, what?
So, Doc, how long should this take to? Yeah,
I was right. So, listen, I was putting Magny on the cut list. I was putting him on. I wrote him down on the cut list. I already put it as a loss, and then all of a sudden he ends up on top and he's throwing. And I go, once he flattened him out, and I don't know if it was Cruz or Cormier. One of them said, "Oh my god, it's gonna be over if he flattens him out." And he flattens him out. And I go, "Holy shit!" And then I'm watching him punch it. I go, even if the referee doesn't stop it, this is gonna be a draw. He's getting 10 around.
Yeah, and that's where I was headed until the stoppage came. And wouldn't you know, your ref is Kevin McDonald, who, earlier that night there was a fight that had to be rerun because he stopped it so early on the Contender Series. McDonald was letting a few more punches through, and I stopped counting at about 25, where Malott was not doing anything other than turning from his back to his side and back, just almost like a rotisserie chicken as Magny cooked him with punches.
I thought that's what Magny was going to be doing, cooking rotisserie chicken after he got cut from the UFC. But man, it saved his career, really, in my opinion. Before that, I thought Malott's performance before we'll kind of take it in two parts. Before the comeback was okay. I mean, there are a lot of positives. Like, he's beaten Neil Magny, obviously the biggest name in his career. But like, slow paced, there are a lot of good things. I was very impressed with how well he was winning the clinch battle, how well he was winning the wrestling areas that Magny's never been a good defensive wrestler, but he's always been a good offensive wrestler. He gets to his clinches and stuff, winning the clinch, leg kick in, but very slow pace. And I was rating, like, other than Canada, he's not going to build too many fans. Like, I thought his stock was going down, even though he was getting a win. Then, I mean, I was gonna do what we always do, right? Where does he stand now? Where did you have him before tonight? Where does he stand now? Shavkat, Brady, and Dak Delman. You know the list.
Yeah.
Then I wonder, like, is this going to be just like a Ankalaev against Paul Craig just had a really bad moment, or is this going to be like career altering? Like,
on one end of the continuum is Ankalaev versus Craig, where it was a moment of inattention. It was a blunder. Fair play to Paul Craig. We love the guy, but it didn't change who Ankalaev is. And he demonstrated that over the next 10 fights. On the other side is, and let's go to old school here, when Evan Tanner won the UFC middleweight title. And
David Terrell.
David Terrell fought one more time and was done.
Yeah,
something broke.
That's a good reference.
I hate to over dramatize this, but something broke in that man that night.
That was a good reference, my man. Nice job. I wonder how many people in the chat would have got that one.
Yeah,
I know John Butterfield. He's an old school guy, right?
John Butterfield is plenty old school. He is. He's a good dude. UK based manager of primarily Middle Eastern fighters. A lot of Egyptian dudes. That's how I first ran into him. But super smart guy.
Yeah, nice reference to David Terrell. Yeah, I feel like, man, his stock of everybody. I mean, we're not doing the Bulls and the Bears yet, but Malott went from the next GSP, the savior of Canada, and in the welterweight division, and he got of every single person, even Sean Strickland, he had the biggest pump all week. And we talked, and I mean, they were booing Neil Magny. I think one point they're cheering like "fuck you, man." This is Canadians. These are the nicest people alive. It's like
if you boo Neil Magny, something's wrong with you.
Yeah, it's Neil Magny. you're screaming "fuck you" and Canada, you're supposed to be like be happy and your like mullets and your flannel shirts, and your maple syrup, and you're supposed to be like, oh, don't you know, and all that shit. Mike Malott's pretty good, eh? So, hey, and I guess, guys, for anybody who's listening for the first time, I can bash Canada. I'm married to a Canadian woman, not like Canadian roots, like born and raised in Canada. Went to college down here. That's how I met my in-law. I go up to Canada 4 or 5 times a year. So, nobody loves Canada more than I do. I gotta ask you this question: did he gas, or is he a front runner?
I think I think it's more of a gas thing. And if you're familiar with the show, you've probably heard this rant from me before, but it's easy to have enough cardio when you are controlling the pace of the fight. And
That's right.
And Keith, I mean, obviously you had a professional fight, you had hundreds of wrestling matches. If I'm wrestling someone where I'm a lot better than them, I can wrestle even at a high pace. We could go for half an hour. Sure. Because nobody's making me move when I don't want to. And it was the same thing with BJ Pitt. Like, his cardio was always great when he was winning. When people were moving him places he didn't want to go is when he started to flag.
That's a good point.
I think Malott was getting tired already, but once he was on his back and Magny was on top and things were going against him and he had to do something right now, it all just came crumbling. He's not
a little panic sets in, a little.
Yeah, because he's 32, but he's like a 12-fight veteran. He's basically an old prospect. He walked away from the sport for like 5 years or something. There's every chance that if he'd had a couple more fights before this, faced some more adversity or different adversity, he would at least have survived that round. Maybe gets a draw, or maybe gets back to his feet. It's a 10-9 round and he escapes with the decision. But here, he just had, like, he was more tired than he let on. And then, just didn't have like the dig deep. There was no place he could dig. He didn't have another idea.
So I've been lifting weights with my oldest daughter. It's more like bonding, which me and my daughter, than trying to be fitness junkies. But we were doing, you ever do a farmer's walk where you grab like really big like dumbbells and just walk, and then you walk to a certain position and walk back. Like, you don't curl, you just hold them and you just walk. You ever do that exercise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So we're doing that exercise and we're on like a third set and we have some pretty good weights. And I'm making to the part we're gonna turn around, but I'm like, oh man, this is hurting. Like, this one's, but I'm good. Like, I'm gonna make it. And right before she gets in, she's right in front of me and she just stops and puts. I always say to her, like, hey, put the weights on if you have to. Like, she's 14. You know what I mean? And she puts the weights down right in front of me, and it just like mentally broke me. Like, she just quit, and I'm like, oh, I had to drop my weights too. And I was gonna turn around, I was gonna keep going. I wonder if that's, and obviously I'm not comparing me holding weights compared to fighting Neil Magny. I'm sure much worse, having an arena of people screaming and having Neil Magny dropping punches on your face is much worse than me holding dumbbells. But I mean, I wonder if it was a mental thing. Like, it was gas, but that also, like, where he could have fought through, but then it was just this like moment of panic and Neil Magny, maybe it's not, if it's not Neil Magny, but it's another UFC fighter. It's somebody who's in the same situation, but it's not Neil Magny. It's not a veteran who's been in this situation before, and it's just another guy. You might not panic and go, this guy's hit me, but I'll make it. But no, I've seen Neil Magny do this. This is what he does. He wears people out. Like, I wonder if it's a combination of all this. The guy was fighting Mickey Gall a couple fights ago, and now he's fighting Neil Magny. Yeah,
and one thing I'd point out that isn't a great look is that it's not like this was a furiously paced fight even before then. Because Malott fights tend to be pretty deliberate in pace. Like, he'll measure out. He's very measured striker. When he wrestles, it's not exactly Looney Tunes cat fight with like smoke and limbs flying out of it. So not to be able to maintain that pace for 3 rounds is going to spell trouble in a division where the top 10 is full of big, strong wrestlers with great cardio.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's still young and he has this star quality. He's kind of like a Paddy Pimblett of Canada kind of thing. And I mean, not that he's not like that person. I mean, you get my point. Like, he's a bigger star in Canada than he gets. You put him on UFC 300 in Vegas, he's not getting nowhere near the attention that he is getting on that card. I mean, this is why he started from the top, because he was there fighting in Canada. What are we doing with him? Like, you have a guy in mind?
No, just big step back. Like, somebody that's still a step up from Adam Fugit and Mickey Gall.
Yep.
But, somebody. Oh, what do you got?
So I feel like he needs a name and someone who's earned a shot, because you've built him to be a name. He was one of the stars. He was on the press conference. He got the biggest hype. I put him back in Canada. I don't know what their schedule is. This is me playing where Ultimate Universe, everything we say works out perfectly. I'm putting him back in Canada. I'm putting him on a fight night in Canada. I'm putting him in I don't know, Vancouver or some Manitoba. I don't know, one of those places. And I'm giving the fight to Nicholas Dalby. Nicholas Dalby's on a run. He deserves a big step up in competition. I would do like a co-main event on a fight night in Canada.
I like that in every way except that I would favor Dalby.
He might.
Like, just
because Dalby has that cardio too. He's a cardio machine. So
yeah, Dalby is another of the low key masters of blood soaked, gutted out victories. So
Magny, my matchup for Magny is I kind of have two options. So I will give credit to the UFC weigh-in show, the official weigh-in show they do. It's a really fun show to watch. They were playing a game, who has Neil Magny fought, and they were like guys had to guess, and one of them was Stephen Thompson, and they have never fought each other. And I'm like, just like, wow, like how those two guys paths haven't crossed. I do that, or if you want to do what you've been doing with Magny and continue to build up, the guy who's on the rise, who gets to step up, give him Michael Morales. Morales is waiting for a name. He hasn't fought a name yet. Big name yet. Give him that.
Yeah,
night.
I'm playing the Keith role here where, I love Neil Magny, but going to feed the old lions to the young lions. If he's good enough to beat one fringe rising top 15 guy like Malott, he can take another in Morales. I have the feeling Morales probably does Lorenz Larkin things to him, but that's the circle of life.
Yeah. Let's go before that. Chris Curtis took on Marc-Andre Barriault. Chris Curtis won by split decision. Pretty fun fight. Mostly a stand-up battle. MA Decisions had it 14-4 for Curtis. Who did you score for?
I scored the fight for Curtis, I believe. Let me make sure.
I had it for Curtis. I gave him the first and the third. I gave Marc-Andre Barriault the second. I'll let you look.
Okay, I scored it for Barriault. Like, it's because I gave Barriault the third round, and it looks like nobody else did. Okay. So I'm one of those few. So I picked Curtis. I scored it for Barriault. I'm not mad that Curtis won. And again, if I'm scoring while I'm typing 7,500 words across the course of the evening, I may not be the best guy. Close fight. It's another one where it almost couldn't live up to what we expected of it. It just seemed like if the fight of the night wasn't going to be one of the lighter weight fights, this was the most obvious one: Action Man versus Power Bar. And it never quite got out of second gear. Like, it was good, but they never really let fly like you were hoping they would.
Yeah. So Marc-Andre Barriault's nickname Power Bar, I like it because he does fight that way often. I like Chris Curtis. I've met Chris Curtis. He's one of the nicest guys he's been on the regional scene. He's like almost an adopted New Englander because I've seen him fight here so many times. The guys asked me like after fights. I still remember this moment when he fought a fight and it was, a decision. He's like, man, I blew my chance not getting the UFC by not getting a knockout and stuff like that. Like, the guy's a good dude. So I like him, but like Action Man, he's really never been the Action Man. He's kind of then a low. He has a little, and he's always, the optics are always going to be bad for him because he has a very boxing roll with punches, Jorge Masvidal style, where if I'm not getting hit, I'm not losing, and that's always an issue. And he's a counter striker, so he's really not the guy pressing the action. I thought Andre Barriault, he picked up the pace in the second round, and I thought he won the second round. And I thought he made a mistake at the very end of the third round by getting right in the like clinch battle with Curtis. Like, Curtis wanted it there, and he's like, okay, let's have. No, it was fun for fans. I mean, to me, the fight was okay, and then the very ending of the third round was like epic.
No, they did the Fry versus Takayama thing where they just each grabbed a collar tie and hockey punched each other 10 times. It was great.
Yeah, but that's what Curtis wanted. That, like, Marc-Andre Barriault, I don't think he might have lost in the fight, but I thought he needed to press the action quicker. Like, his thing is cardio and output. In you can out like volume Curtis. Now, again, you're playing with fire. He's got power. He can catch you. Sure, it's easy for me to say, yeah, go after the guy. I get it. Like, I'm not thinking about getting punched. I just felt like he didn't fight to his strengths. And the one thing that if I was a coach, I would have been going crazy. I had a 1-1. I think a lot of people had a 1-1 heading into the third round. The third round's very competitive, could go either way. End of the fight, I'm like, dude, go for a takedown. Go win yourself the fight. Why didn't one of these guys just grab a takedown? In a really close fight, you know what I mean? Get on top for the last minute.
Yeah, especially considering, and I'll probably bring this up later, the card up to that point, a majority of the fights had hinged on wrestling. Who was willing to do it and who could do it?
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting that.
I remember I was in New York. It was part of the whole Ally Quinta stepping up to fight Habib, that whole nonsense with Conor. And I was at that card in Brooklyn, and I remember Joanna fought Rose for the second time. Rose defended that title, and it was like I had a dead even heading into the fifth round, back and forth fifth round, about a minute left. And I remember I was there with Nolan King. We weren't even doing media stuff. We were there for fans just watching it together. And Nolan King from MMA Junkie, you guys, he's a good friend of mine. And in the very, maybe about a minute left in the fight, Rose Namajunas went for a takedown. I remember grabbing Nolan and be like, dude, that was so fucking smart. Like, you know, and the crowd like started booing, like, no. But I'm like, if I'm her coach, I'm like, that was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, that's the only thing. Like, to me, it's like sometimes don't always have to entertain the crowd, and sometimes just get yourself a win.
Agreed. Most important is that you win. You hope to be entertaining from time to time, but sometimes you just got to get the win.
I'm going to give you a name for Chris Curtis, and I think a lot of people are going to hate this. I was looking at the middleweight division and having a really hard time matchmaking him because a lot of guys are booked, far out. So it's like, oh, if you want, guys fighting 3 months from now, then you're going to have to wait at least another 3 months. Like, you don't want these 6-7 months. So I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, he probably deserves a top 15 guy. So I start going to the top 15. Trying to figure out who makes sense. The only guy that made sense to him that isn't already booked. Ready? This one's gonna shock you. I mean, actually, hold on, let me rephrase. The guy is booked, but I'm having him fight this guy whether the guy wins or loses.
Okay.
Robert Whittaker. How much you hate that matchup?
You know what? I'm gonna say the reverse of what I usually say for matchups like this. This is more about what Whittaker deserves, and I like the idea of Whittaker getting a fight against someone who's not just an absolute killing machine.
So you like it?
I like it, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I was thinking like Paulo Costa does make sense. Like if Costa loses, like Costa's too big of a personality to give to Chris Curtis.
Sure.
Whittaker isn't. And I expect Whittaker to win. Like, we don't do predictions on the show without doing tape study, but I'm pretty sure I'm taking. I mean, I thought Costa looked terrible in his last fight. Not that Whittaker had a good showing, but I'm taking Whittaker.
And while I generally like to stick to the old Joe Silva philosophy of winners fight winners and losers fight losers, at this point, Whittaker is far enough from the title picture that you could make this matchup whether he wins or loses.
He's already fought the champion. Like, you don't want to put Whittaker against Strickland because, like, you have Strickland's personality. You need someone to defeat. You don't want Whittaker being like Strickland's talking shit about Whittaker's just like laughing, like, "Huh, that's funny. Good one." Yeah, like, oh, that's true. We Australians are like that, huh? Yeah. Yeah, it's like I put it in the main event, fight night. One of the most anticipating fights, Arnold Allen took on Movsar Evloev. Evloev has improved to 18-0 now with a unanimous decision over Arnold Allen. MMA decisions pretty close. There was 11 for Evloev, 5 for Arnold Allen, and then there was one hipster who scored a draw to be different from everybody else. Probably went like a 10-10 round in the first or some shit. I don't know. How did you score this fight? Because I saw a lot of people thought that Arnold Allen won.
I gave Evloev the first and second rounds. I gave Allen the third.
That's exactly how I had it. The first round is a lot of contention. Why did you go the first round for Evloev?
I just thought the strikes he landed were more impactful, honestly, which I would not. I figured if Evloev won the first round, that's not how he was going to do it. I figured he'd just like strike for takedowns early and often, never let Allen get his boxing uncorked, but he stood with him for a lot of the round. I don't even think he got a clean takedown until pretty late in the round.
About a minute left.
Yeah, very close round. I gave it to Evloev. If I watched it again, maybe I'd feel differently, but that's your swing round.
I'm glad you said that because I also scored it for Evloev, and yeah, I agree. If I watched it again, maybe I wouldn't. I thought the stand up, like Arnold Allen, I thought he was winning the stand up, but it wasn't like either guy was really stepping on the gas. Arnold landed a couple jabs, but he wasn't like hurting him or anything. And to me, like the most effective things were takedowns and some big slam mat returns. And dude, that takedown that he hit the first one, he shot him deep, turned the corner, it was like a little peek out, and I was like, that was slick. And then Arnold's trying to Granby roll, and Evloev's just rolling him. I mean, he's rolling with the Granbys. Like that was some fun shit.
The first and the third rounds just had a couple of incredible sequences on the ground that can only happen if both fighters are very high level. Like if only one of them is really high level, those scrambles end in like 3 seconds.
I agree. So I don't know, his Granbys, you have to clear the hips and go on an angle when you're throwing the Granbys. He was more rolling right through, which is easy to. I mean, if you just put a Weston hook in, he wouldn't be able to Granby. But now again, I understand that when you put a Weston hook, you actually can roll underneath for knee bars. I understand that changes in MMA, but generally speaking, that's a good way to stop a Granby. Evloev's wrestling, I mean, like he's fast. Now, as the fight goes on, he can shoot a little too far away. Like we saw that he was shooting without setups in the third. I mean, some of that was gas, but I mean, his mat returns, is the way he stays glue, his angle cutting is good. I think he's a top 5 wrestler in the UFC. If I'd have to dig my list and really, I'm just kind of throwing the 5 as a maybe top 7, maybe something, whatever. I mean, obviously Bo Nickal's number 1.
Yeah.
But then, like, if I was coming up a list, I mean, Evloev, he is fun to watch.
He is a lot of fun to watch, and part of it is because of the limitation that's forced on him. Because right now, I don't know if he's the best featherweight in the world, but I know he's the best bantamweight in the featherweight division. The fact that he's able to make that wrestling work despite giving up size to all of his opponents, and I was worried about him in this fight because in the early going, I mean, I think went like 1 for 3 or 2 for 4 on takedowns in the first round, but it looked like he was having to exert a lot of energy both on the unsuccessful and the successful ones. And my thought is he going to be limited at the top end, no matter what happens against Allen tonight, where just he won't have the cardio to make this wrestling work against top level featherweights? Kind of the way I feel about Logan Storley, where he's an incredible wrestler and he's an incredible MMA wrestler, but he gives up enough size to most of his opponents that when he finally ran into Yaroslav Amosov, it was the first time where he got tired first in the wrestling. I thought maybe this is the fight where that happens to Evloev, but no, he wasn't 100% in the third round, but he was enough. Like incredible cardio.
A good example of that is Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard 1. Everyone always thinks they do the second or third fight because they have all time, but the first one, Maynard just big brothered him.
Yeah. Well, dude, Maynard was a 2-time All-American at 157, and Frankie Edgar was a 4-time qualifier at like 133.
Yeah.
Like in MMA, how do they even meet in the middle anywhere? You know?
Sure. Yeah. I know. Because Frankie Edgar was like way out of his weight classes. But still, and obviously we didn't mention the shout out to Frankie Edgar, newest inductee into the UFC Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Frankie. The answer.
Highly, highly deserved. If you don't like Frankie Edgar, what are you doing even watching this sport?
Yeah. Even Sean Strickland likes him, I think. Cat Williams probably doesn't, but he doesn't like anybody. I had one issue in this fight. In the third, so let me back up. I think Evloev, as he goes up the rankings, especially if he gets like a Max Holloway, he's going to have to throw his hands. Like his hands are good. And that's why he actually hurt Arnold Allen because he's shooting and landing. He needed to throw more hands in the third because he started really again shooting without setups and shooting too far away. That's when Arnold Allen started down blocking and stuff like that. I had a huge issue again. Now you have to take this for what it's worth. The illegal knees, and again, I'm going to say illegal because the referee Mark Artis stopped the fight and said they were illegal. So to me, that's illegal. He took 4 illegal knees to the head in a close fight, and the response was, "I'm going to give you a hard warning." He had 4 knees.
The dreaded hard warning.
The 4 knees to the head. Like,
yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, they were legal," or "They should be legal." That's all irrelevant. The referee said they were legal. Now, you've heard me rant about it. I know you agree with me. It seemed like everybody agrees. I don't. Okay, there you go. Money line are saying right. Those were not illegal. You can argue whether it was or not. The referee said it was. It's like you could watch a football game and say that's not holding, but if the referee throws a flag, guess what? It's holding.
Yeah, like the ref can't throw the flag and say, "Yeah, that was holding, but no penalty this time." Like, you are the one who makes the decision. We can look at the replay now and argue whether they're illegal or not. Keep in mind that if one fighter lifts the other out of a grounded position, it's illegal to hit him then. So keep that in mind, when you're deciding whether they're illegal or not.
And even the knees that were landing, his hand was coming up because he was getting kneed in the hand, and he's like but anyways, regardless, you've heard me rant about this many times. We just have to make a rule, whether yes or no. You can knee to the head. I think you should just ban knees to the head everywhere, or add them all the way. Then there's no controversy.
Yeah. I think they should be. I think they should be illegal everywhere. It would change the whole takedown game. It would change.
Had me vote, I'm voting that. Yes.
Yeah.
But
like, if you hate endless clinches against the side of the cage, legalize knees everywhere because a lot of them will play out differently.
That's right. That's a good point. Yes. I'm not for those people who just took a little. So I'm not saying get rid of knees to the head. I'm saying the opposite. I want them added anyway. But just Jesus Christ, like, let's match make. What do we do with Evloev? I'm going to surprise you with my picks.
Oh, okay. That means you're probably slow rolling him. He's calling for a title shot.
Okay.
The clouds are kind of parting where he might be the guy that makes the most sense for the winner of Volkanovski versus Topuria if Volkanovski wins.
Yeah. Okay.
Like if Volkanovski wins in uncontroversial fashion, I think Evloev is up next. Otherwise, you have to be careful with what you do with the guy to keep him busy. Like, say he's not next, no matter what, and he's not going to even possibly get a title shot until he wins one more fight. We're looking around the end of the year. If you give him to someone like Max Holloway, like what if Holloway swats away an undefeated contender and now all you've got is Holloway versus Volkanovski 4?
Yeah. It's kind of a situation we're having with Holloway taking on Justin Gaethje for the BMF. What if Holloway wins? Now Gaethje's not fighting for the title.
Yeah.
My Holloway is fighting for the title at 155, and I felt the same way. If Volkanovski wins, you do Volkanovski versus. I'm giving it. You could sell 18-0 fighting for the title.
Yeah.
If Topuria wins, the problem is, and we don't like immediate rematches. The run that Volkanovski is on at 145, you could justify an immediate rematch. Now, mind you, if he loses, that's 3 out of 4 fights he would have lost. Yeah, 2 are out of the weight class, but still. Plus an older age. I'm going to go with, so if that's one. If Volkanovski wins, just give him Volkanovski. If Topuria wins, I give him the winner of Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega.
Yeah, I like that.
I know some people are throwing out like Josh Emmett, and sure, okay. Like you can't make a bad fight at 145.
Yeah, I mean, Emmett's coming off a crushing win, so what's he earned for himself? And I think we talked about this after the fight because we expected Emmett to lose. We expected maybe to talk about him retiring or maybe even being on the cut list, and all of a sudden he had an incredible win. And what has he won? probably a matchup against an even tougher fighter, because that's just what a merciless division it is.
Yeah. Allen's in a much tougher situation. So obviously he's on a 2-fight losing streak now.
Dude.
I'm giving him Edson Barbosa. Barbosa's on a little bit of winning streak. You know, Allen's kind of falling down the rankings. Give me
that's brilliant, because dude, Allen is falling down the rankings and he lost a second fight in a row in spite of, I thought he looked good tonight.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Yeah. He looked good. He did just about everything right, and he just ran into a fighter that was just that much better than him on the night, and about a third of people apparently don't even think that. It's tough to get like a tougher 2-fight losing streak than Holloway and Evloev.
His loss tonight, and I know you were doing play-by-play, so you could watch, was like the Packers loss. Like, they lost to the 49ers, but it wasn't a bad showing. Like, yeah, they lost, I think, because of I think the kicker missed a field goal, which gave San Francisco a chance to not tie the score, but go up by 3. And then on the last drive, they got picked off, trying to tie the game or something like that. Not a bad showing from the Packers. Let's move on. Let's do the prelims. We're already an hour and a half in, so we got to speed this up a little bit. Brad Katona took on Garrett Armfield in one of the most kind of ho-hum fight, like ho-hum fight on paper, ho-hum fight in action. Decisions had it 9-4 for Armfield, so no controversy. I mean, close fight. I actually scored it for Brad Katona, but it was one of those ones like all 3 rounds I go, I don't know who won that one.
Yeah. This is one of the ones where I ended up scoring it for Katona, but I'm not mad that Armfield won, because taken as a whole fight, I feel as though the right guy got his hand raised at the end.
Okay.
I'm not mad at this one at all. The only thing that really stuck out as a surprise is when you've got the kind of Midwest prospect, you don't expect him to be the better athlete of the 2 fighters. That just, they tend to be your grindy guy, and Armfield was fast and strong.
Yeah.
Better output. Yeah.
Katona kept going, like shooting and trying to clinch and trying to go over body. When he shot on the hips, he was getting takedowns. I thought he just been shooting more on the hips. But shout out to you, man. Another win from Marathon MMA, man. That team's on a run. That's your team, man.
Yeah. Following them all the way. I better get like the red carpet treatment if I ever show up in Kansas City. And
one of the funnest fights of the night, Charles Jourdain took on Sean Woodson. Sean Woodson won a split decision. So the big fun thing about this one, it was a close fight. Bruce Buffer reads the winner. Charles Jourdain thought he won. They thought he said Charles Jourdain. He actually did say Sean Woodson. I listened. I rewound. Went back 10 seconds, listened. Went back 10 seconds, listened. Went back 10. I listened over and over. I could not tell what he said in the first one. Everyone's saying he said Charles, the sniper Woodson. He definitely said the sniper Woodson. I don't know. I don't know what word he said first. It was like Sean. So he might have said Sean. He might have said I don't know. What the fuck was that?
Jade Bunky throw in the chat. Jade, of course, host of the MMA Mic Drop podcast. Like throwing daggers in there. I gave him all 3 rounds, Jade. I thought they were close, but I thought Woodson won the fight. And
I scored 2 rounds to 1. I scored 2 rounds to 1 for Woodson. I gave him the first 2, but I remember I tweeted this out that the way the commentators were talking, I was saying this fight is a lot closer than the commentators make it sound like. Yeah. Right. Continue your thought.
As far as the Buffer thing here, like I tend not to give broadcast personalities a hard time on name pronunciation. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard for me, and I speak 3.5 languages. It's even hard for me. Like it takes work.
That's pretty incredible. And I speak a half a language, so you speaking 3.5 is pretty impressive.
Especially when someone like people like DC and Cruz are kind of bumbling through them. That's fine. Pronouncing names is not their job. Their job is analysis. As long as I can tell who they're talking about, just call them red shorts, blue shorts, call them by their first name, which they do a lot. But Buffer, literally his whole job is to pronounce people's names right, and he fucks it up constantly. He has been calling fights judged by Derek Cleary for a decade, and he still can't say it right. Derek Cleary. Like Eric Cologne. It's Cologne. It's not colon. Although I'm okay with that because his decisions are so bad. I'm fine with him being colon. Why is it so hard to just do what Anik does? Anik goes up to each of these guys, asks them, hey, how do you pronounce your name? While doing a voice memo on his phone. There's no reason Buffer couldn't do that. It's ridiculous how bad he's been at his job for how long.
Yeah. I don't know. Charles isn't a hard word to say. Sean isn't a hard word. I don't know. Again, I don't want to say he said it because I rewound over and over again. And, you know, I get it. He's doing like, he has to like over exaggerate the way he says a word, you know, like be super excited. I couldn't tell what, if he said Charles or Sean, I couldn't tell. Sean Woodson obviously is always going to be an issue. He's a fantastic boxer. His takedown defense has really improved. The issue he's going to have is he doesn't throw for power, and also the optics. His boxing, rolling with punches, deflecting shots, it never looks good, which is why in a fight where a lot of people thought you scored 3 rounds for him, I scored 2 rounds, he still gets a split decision win, because when a guy just keeps throwing and I mean, Jordan was throwing high kicks and throwing hard shots at him, and he's just kind of jabbing, low output jabs, low output uppercuts. You got to get tricked. You know, you trick people into giving the decision to your opponent. He's going to lose a fight that majority of people think he won. It's going to happen soon. So
yeah.
I thought Jordan he did really much better in the 3rd round. He needed the pressure. He was playing a outside striking battle. Like, he needed the pressure. When he said oppression to Woodson, he had a great 3rd round.
Yeah. Agreed. Good 3rd round. And it just seems like it's something he could have done the whole time. He conceded too much of the fight to be contested at Woodson's preferred distance.
Woodson is 5-1-1 in the UFC. I mean, like we said, his frame will always be an issue, but I mean, are you believing in this guy moving forward? Like, can he be a top 15 guy?
He can be a top 15 guy because you don't run into people that are really going to take advantage of his flaws until you get into the top 15. Like if he was a welterweight and, you know, obviously scale him up appropriately, I guess that makes him a 6'7" welterweight or something. He
needs to be scaled. Yeah,
he'd be exposed a lot quicker. Here, he can make it into the top 15. I do think he's going to have a hard ceiling against. I mean, you look at that whole top 15, and it's full of guys that are not going to settle for a fight at the outer edge of boxing range like Charles Jourdain did. And Jourdain is a guy with a known history of making fights closer than they need to be because he fights with very inconsistent game plans, questionable fight IQ, but. Yeah, I mean, even Josh Emmett that we were ready to write off as cooked, he wouldn't have just sat there and gotten jabbed up for 3 rounds on the outside. He would have tried something.
Yeah. No, I agree. I thought Jourdain fought the fight that was on. It's still a close fight, but I'm giving Woodson a step up in competition, at least name wise. I'm going to give him the winner of Danny Ige versus Andre Fili, and I'd have it as like a co-main event of a fight night.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Probably the best fight of the evening. And I apologize if I'm Sergey City took on Ramon Tavares. Tavares winning a split decision. This was a incredible fight, fun, back and forth. Both guys having moments. Shout out to us, another consensus underdog pick. So we went 2-0 on the night for our consensus underdog picks. So good night for the Shill and Duffy show there. That said, this was a really controversial decision.
It was. I mean, I was happy to be right on paper, but I scored it for Surrey City.
So did I.
Yeah.
So I looked at my decisions. It was 16-0 for Surrey City. It comes down to the second round because Tavares hurt him, cut him open, had moments, but so did Sergey City, and Sergey had tons of more volume. That's when he really started taking over, beating them with volume, nonstop pressure. It goes down to, are you scoring damage? How do you score? What is damage? Is damage actually like you cut a guy open, or could damage also be like, you also get punched and kicked like 80 times by the other guy? So it's what is considered damage.
Yeah, and cuts are the toughest thing. And this is not to excuse Cruz for harping on it for the next 4 hours, but obviously a cut as just the most obvious form of damage short of a broken limb is going to weigh heavily, even though getting punched in the stomach can sap your will to fight a lot worse than like a cut on your forehead. And then the other thing is, one of the hardest things as a judge is to differentiate damage taken in a previous round. Like if your face is full of blood because you got cut in the second round, they get the end swell on you, they get the Vaseline with the adrenaline in it, they stop the bleeding. If you go out and you start bleeding like a stuck pig again after the first jab, that's not new damage. That is the human body's circulatory system doing its job. But all of a sudden your opponent has a huge advantage in his back pocket. And I think that's what Tavares had. Like Tavares, I don't think he won round 3, but because that cut started bleeding again right away, everything he did looked more damaging. He's all smeared with blood. It also helps that he knocked his mouthpiece out. That's another kind of big optics moment, even though a punch where his mouthpiece stayed in and that same force was transferred into his skull would have actually been more damaging. The mouthpiece going flying is what makes the highlight reel.
Yeah. So even though, Tavares won, I thought both guys looked good. I mean, in moving forward, I'll probably pick them to win that next fight. Now, obviously, I don't know who they're going against, but I feel good about these guys. I thought City's nonstop pressure was super impressive. His toughness, like moments he was hurt, come back. And then Tavares, I loved, like, the reason why he was hurting City is I loved how he was changing the angles of punches. He threw a lot of hooks, everything coming around, and then he would throw one straight down the pipe, kind of getting him guessing. And it's like kind of like a pitcher, like, all right, here's a curveball, here's a curveball, here's a curveball. Oh, here's a high fastball right by you.
Yeah. No, completely agree. And one thing I was going to critique about City's performance, but got better over the course of the fight, was he was great with the pressure, constantly, marching down Tavares, but he was bad at corralling him. Like Tavares kept sliding out the sides with better lateral movement over and over again. In the second round, he started using kicks to kind of corral him against the fence, just very Matt Brown, Conor McGregor, where the kick, it's great if it hurts, but it's mostly to steer the guy the direction you want him to go, to set him up for your punches or whatever you're doing next. Once he started doing that, I thought he started to take over the fight.
Yeah. Before that was a big moment for the Schillen household, as 30C West already exposed my secret that my wife, Jillian Robertson, picked up a victory by beating Polyana Viana, winning by second round TKO. Obviously, that's, if you missed the beginning, that's just a joke. Great showing by Jillian Robertson, and does exactly what Jillian Robertson does when she's better than her opponent, when she's matched up against a lower level. She took her down, beat her up, held her down, wear her down, and then got in a position where she just ground and pound. A lot of times she wins by submission. In this case, it was ground and pound. She's won 3 out of 4. She's made some changes. She's only, I think she's like 28. So it seems like she's been around forever, but she started off really young and she's got some good experience. I mean, she changed weight, she changed gyms. Do you believe in the run that she's on right now?
Conservatively, by the standards of the division, I'm still not calling her a future champ. Probably not even like a future title challenger, although you never know. But her biggest problem, and we talk about this on every preview, win or lose, her biggest problem is that she's a very good grappler and a terrible wrestler. And this is the best her wrestling has looked against this good an opponent in her entire UFC run.
Yeah, I'll say this. So I will believe in her when I see her beat someone that I think isn't a great stylistic matchup for her. like the run she's on, I never went like, oh, this would be a tough matchup for her. It's always been ones like, yep, she could take it down, she could beat her. I think we need to stop this narrative of Polyana Viana being this great ground wizard. I mean, she's lost, a bunch of fights on the ground. I think she's been submitted already 3 times in the UFC.
She's a brown belt. I mean, it's not like she's even a former like Mundials champ at the black belt level or something that would lead her to be thought of as this incredible grappler. Really, she's kind of a poor woman's version of Robertson.
Yeah, she caught one armbar. She got one armbar in the UFC, and suddenly we make her Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah.
Anyways,
and
good run by my wife. Probably our worst call. Johan Linnaeus took on Sam Patterson. Patterson just steamrolled him, took Linnaeus down, and quickly took his back. I thought Linnaeus, I don't know if you caught this, he made a really bad mistake. Patterson was going for a front hand lock. He was out of position, and Linnaeus, instead of like just shaking and kind of get his head up and take the high ground, he like rolled right into his lap, and then Patterson just locked this up. Good showing, good for Patterson. He moved up a weight class. So I mean, is any belief in that? Like, that he's
absolutely. I am glad that he's moved up in weight. He is huge, and all the problems that can be fixed by a move up in weight class, especially when you're doing it at age 27, not like 37 when it's too late or whatever, were fixed. Like what was problems before? Chin. He was slower than a lot of his opponents. Here, yeah, he trucked Linnaeus. It was too quick a fight, and Linnaeus made too big a blunder to certify Patterson as like a future contender or anything. But I certainly think this makes the move to 170 look like a good one.
Yeah. Who would have thought that actually putting some nutrients in your body would be good for your performances?
I mean, John Butterfield kind of with my thought here. I felt good about Linnaeus as a pick. I couldn't have expected Patterson to look this good. I couldn't have expected Linnaeus to make that big a mistake. But you know what, dude? If they fought again next weekend, my thought would still be, Linnaeus catches him with a big punch at some point and puts him down. And I feel bad about that because that detracts a little bit from Patterson's like great win. But yeah. A couple fights from now, when Patterson is knocking on the edges of the top 15, like I'll realize what a dumb call this was on my part. But for right now, like, yeah,
that'd be a hell of a run at welterweight. That's a tough one to make it in. I got to address one comment. Chris Wiz, one of our very faithful listeners, he said, "I don't understand how Karate Hottie talking about Michelle Waterson hasn't been cut yet. I don't know how we got a Michelle Waterson topic going, but." Mentioned Michelle Waterson. She's the Tony Ferguson of women's MMA, lost 6 of 7. Chris Wiz, we've spoke with you many times. You are a very intelligent person. I'm sure you can figure out why Karate Hottie hasn't been cut. I'm sure you can figure that one out. Before that, Jasmine Jasovicius took on Priscilla Cachoeira, winning by 3rd round submission. Dude, it is January 20th. Now technically January 21st here, but it was January 20th when this fight went on. I think we already have our beatdown of the year locked up, sealed. Send the award to Miss Jasovicius. Get a couple extra postal stamps to go across the border in Canada. Or, I mean, she is from Niagara. Maybe we can kind of like push it off the American side of Niagara, and they can kind of like that Made of the Mist tour and pick it up or something. Or I'll put it in a barrel, like put it in the barrel.
The barrel. A complete beatdown and 10-8 first round, 10-8 second round, and until she got that cool kind of mounted guillotine choke in the closing seconds of the fight, well on our way to a 10-8 third round, just absolute mauling.
By any chance, did you see the total strikes? Now, again, this was like on the UFC broadcast. I know the update.
I heard them. I had the captions on, and I saw him call out something like 188-6 or something like.
Oh, no. Priscilla Cachoeira had 26 strikes. Jasmine Jasovicius had 326.
Oh.
326 to 26.
Wow.
Yeah, that would have been my blood pressure of me if I was coaching Sean Strickland trying to get him to throw a right hand in like the third round.
Whew.
Like, you know, I've never been a big Cachoeira fan, but that girl is too tough for her own good.
Yeah,
This was unnecessary.
at this point, her biggest highlights are on other people's reels, and they just involve her surviving. I guess Zombie Girl is an appropriate nickname for her. I wasn't a real Walking Dead guy. I don't know what you have to do to kill a zombie, but like, if it takes like 2 to the head to get her out of the UFC before she gouges anyone else's eyes, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, Jasovicius. I mean, we said it on the broadcast that this was the easiest fight to pick on the card. I mean, I like Jasovicius. I think she's a good addition. I mean, I know she's been in the UFC for a while now, but I think she's one who could really sneak up the rankings.
And you know what? She fought at 133 pounds tonight. You don't think she could have taken down either of the women in our co-main event at will? She's a big woman.
I don't know if she wrestler. I don't know if she beat Raquel Pennington, but she might. Maybe. I'd say it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like it's possible.
This was a terrible matchup because 1, Cachoeira doesn't have great wrestling. 2, she can make it even easier because she's going to run straight at a woman. So yeah, I mean, Jasovicius, it was the equivalent of just I don't even know what to call it. It was this was too easy.
So the reason why they fought at 135 is it was supposed to be a 125 fight. And then it went to Cachoeira asked for it to be like, I don't know, 129, and then she asked for it to be like 131, and the next minute was like, now it's 135. So, man, Cachoeira makes it hard to like her.
And Jasovicius, I mean, that's about as angry as I've seen a Canadian in like, she was taking out some frustrations. Shout out, to whoever introduced Priscilla Cachoeira to poutine this week. Like you're the real MVP.
Yeah. You haven't seen a Canadian woman that angry because you didn't see my wife after she found out I talked shit about our pork chops to all the listeners on our preview show. And starting off the night, Jimmy Flick took on Malcolm Gordon, winning by second round sub. I'm fading Jimmy. I'm trying to sound like one of these hipster bettors. I'm fading Jimmy Flick his next fight. I thought he looked terrible and fell right into a submission.
You mean Gordon?
No, I'm talking Jimmy Flick. Like Jimmy Flick got the submission, because Gordon made it. I don't know what he was just like. He went like crazy. Like he was going to win. He was dominating every second of the fight, and then he just like was throwing punches and just overexerted, like just going berserker. And Jimmy Flick just ducked his head and was like, "Oh, there's your leg. Oh, let me grab it. And then you fall right to your back, right into a submission. You can't overthrow strikes against a guy whose only chance of winning is taking you down and being on top and getting a submission. You got to hold back a little bit."
Completely agreed. And I'm sure part of it was him wanting to get a bonus, wanting to open things up with a big bang for the Canadian crowd. He's extremely proud to be a Canadian fighter. But John Butterfield, this kind of makes my point, because I said this on the preview. Jimmy Flick made a huge splash because he won his UFC debut with a flying triangle on Cody Durden. Little did we realize at the time that a flying triangle is probably his highest percentage takedown. Like he's kind of like Jillian Robertson in that he's a very slick grappler who lacked the wrestling to get the fight to the ground.
Yeah, he's not like Jillian Robertson. I'm not married to him, but yeah.
Flick, his best wins for as long as he sticks around in the UFC are all going to be directly attributable to mistakes by his opponent, probably.
Yeah, I don't see him winning many more fights in the UFC. I don't know. Marcus
Mustard doing his best impression of one of Adam Martin's tweets, trying to get on the UFC screen.
Nice.
You get on our screen, Marcus. We love you.
So you guys have it. There's all 12 fights. Let's get to the fun stuff. Do we have awards?
I'm sure we have some. Let's see what they are. We have a fight of the night, and we have 2 performances of the night.
Okay, I'm going to guess what the UFC gave for fight of the night, but then I'm going to tell you what I would have given. All right. they're gonna give the fight of the night to the main event, Strickland and Duplessis. I wouldn't have done that. I would have given it to City versus Tavares. I know Tavares missed weight, so he's not eligible. So I would have given City the entire fight of the night.
Awesome. Do the Julian Erosa thing where you get in 2 fights of the night against people who miss weight. You make $200,000 that way, and you buy a house. Yeah. I'm all for it.
What would you get given for a fight of the night?
Oh, that would have been mine easily. Okay. It was the best. It was the best fight of the night, and better, even according to expectations. Like Strickland versus Duplessis wasn't as good as I expected.
No,
and yeah, City versus Tavares was better.
Was I right? The UFC gave it to the main event.
Yep, absolutely.
Of course they were. Would you say how many performance bonuses?
2.
This is gonna be tough. She was a huge favorite. But what Jasovicius did to catch away tonight, I'm giving her 1. And I'm going to go with the Patterson. Patterson won in like 20 seconds or whatever it was. I'd go with Patterson and Jasovicius. I highly doubt that's what the UFC is doing. What would you have given?
Your performances of the night, Jasovicius would have been one of mine for sure. And I'm actually good with both that they gave out.
Okay.
Your performance of the night winners are Jasmine Jasovicius for her thrashing and 3rd round TKO of Priscilla Cachoeira. Your other goes to Jillian Robertson for Jasovicius choked out Cachoeira. Robertson pounded out Viana. But yeah, the Robertson and Jasovicius, 2 undercard fighters, 2 Canadian women, UFC,
Yeah, nice. I'm okay with that. Like,
John Butterfield makes the point. The only 2 Canadian winners out of 9 fighters on the card.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and Bears are actually you want to do the cut list? You want to do Bulls and Bears?
I'm trying to think.
Let's do the Bulls and Bears.
All right, let's do the Bulls and Bears.
I already started doing the rant. The Bulls and Bears are a stock market reference. When it's a bull stock or a bull market, things are going up. When it's going down, it's a bear stock or bear market. You want to be on the Bulls list. You do not want to be on the Bears list. We do it a hockey style, like the 3 stars of the night, 3, 2, 1. Let's go Bears.
All right.
Let's go negative. You mind if I go first?
Go for it.
All right. My number 3. So this is people whose stock went down or stories or something. Brad Katona. He just coming off winning the Ultimate Fighter for the 2nd time, the only person in history to ever do that. Had some buzz from that, and then completely flopped in a kind of boring fight that be not remembered against a lower level UFC talent and Garrett Armfield. Not a good time for Brad Katona. He seems to do great on the Ultimate Fighter show. Can't get it done in the UFC. Number 2, I agree with what you said that Arnold Allen didn't have a bad showing, but in that division, being on a 2-fight losing streak, it's going to be a long road to get back to where he once was. He seemed like the maybe the next champion.
Yeah.
And number 1, a lot of people already referred this. The Canadian men, they went. This is supposed to be what a great night for Canada. We got a pay-per-view. Our other Canadian guys are going to crush it. The Canadian men went 0 for 7. They did not win a single fight. But the worst, I want to give this, like, of the 7 who had the worst, Mike Malott. I mean, the guy, you were the star. You were going to be the savior. You win that fight, everything's still good. And man, to have that epic comeback on you, Mike Malott. Do you have any Bears?
You know what? I have a list here, and 2 of them are ones that you mentioned, so I'll just heartily co-sign on Canadian men in general and Mike Malott in particular. The only one I'll add is Mayra Bueno Silva. There are title fights where you lose and you're not going far out of orbit. Like, there's a clear road back. And then there are ones that I think either force people to reevaluate you or will be looked at as a turning point in hindsight. Like, maybe 10 fights from now, we realize this is where I hate using this word, but this is where Mayra Bueno Silva was exposed. We realized, what kind of fighter she really is. We're good, but not great. And this is why she can't go over the hump. This was a bad stock down moment for her in a way that it wasn't for, Strickland, who arguably won his fight. Like, Mayra Bueno Silva lost bad, and why and how is really plainly obvious to everybody.
All right.
Aunt Milano in the Sherdog editorial Slack, I said, just chatting with people who were on duty tonight, I said, if these people boo Chris Curtis, we're bombing a mid to minor Canadian city in retribution. They started booing. I said, farewell, Moncton, New Brunswick. I'm sorry.
No, that's too close to my family.
All right.
Don't. Hey, as long as you don't take out the Heartland's covered bridge, that would cripple their entire economy. World's longest covered bridge, by the way, right there in Heartland, New Brunswick, Canada, where my in-laws are from. Let's go to the Bulls list. So this is the list you want to be on. Ben, I'll let you kick it off.
Okay. Bulls wrestling. I kind of hinted at it earlier, but especially on the prelims, there were several fights that hinged on who was willing to wrestle and who could wrestle. And, and we saw a little bit of surprise, like Jillian Robertson. Granted, Viana, not great takedown defense anyway, but she made Robertson look like Bo Nickel for, 8 minutes. Jasdavicius plying what was known to be her advantage. Always good to see fights that end in submission or by ground and pound, but what made the motor run was better wrestling, not just an accident. And again, trashing women's MMA in the UFC has been one of my themes tonight. I don't feel good about that, but a lot of women's fights, if it ends up on the ground, it's almost by mistake. There's a collision. There's a clinch against the fence where woman is just worse than the other at using an overhook. Here, purposeful wrestling was the order of the day, and I like that. So wrestling. Number 2, Savages. There were 2 people named the Savage on the card. They both won. Jillian Robertson, Ramon Taveras. Congratulations to both of you. And one of you took home a nice bonus, and one of you took home a win bonus you probably didn't deserve. So good night for both of you. And I think that's it. Yeah, just 2. I like halfway through it, I was like, the undercard is a bull. This is like going to be one of the best undercards of the year. It petered out a little bit later on. Like the Woodson, Jordan, and Armfield Katona fights were just okay, but that's still a good undercard.
Yeah. Shout out to the Canadian women though, who went 2-0 on the night, so making up for the men. I'll go with my Bulls. Most of Evloev, wasn't a thrash or anything, but go every time you're undefeated this deep into your career and you keep getting names on it. He moved to probably top 5 in the rankings, and we're talking about him fighting for a title and everything soon. So Movsar Evloev, huge win tonight. My number 2, wasn't the greatest form, wasn't the great runs or anything like that. Not going to be a very popular champion, but when you win the title, you're always going to make my Bulls list for the first time. Raquel Pennington, congratulations to her for becoming a UFC champion. Won 6 in a row, really turned her career around. And my number 1 is kind of the same thing. Dricus du Plessis. Now he's the champion. No matter where his career goes from now on, he'll always have his name in the record books. He's champion. I wouldn't be surprised if he holds it for a while too. So great job tonight for Dricus du Plessis. Let's go to people had a good job. Let's do some making room for other people. The cut list, the way the cut list works, if both me and Ben have a name on our cut list, we officially give the UFC permission to get rid of this person. Ben, I have 4 people. I'm cutting a shitload of people. I'm ready to go.
I have 1, 2. I think I may only have 2. You're a mean guy.
All right. Let's hear your first one.
Okay. Malcolm Gordon. You lost your third fight in a row, got no one to blame but yourself. Flick was a huge step down in competition from Muhammad Mokaev and Jake Hadley, and you tried to get fancy, screwed the pooch, and handed Jimmy Flick like literally the only way he was going to win this fight.
Yeah, he was taking his gloves off in the cage, so he might have retired too. I'm not sure. But yep, I had Gordon on. Who's the other one?
Priscilla Cachoeira is on my cut list every time she fights, win or lose. She shouldn't be in the UFC. And if she's going to be in the UFC, I think she should just have to alternate fighting Valentina Shevchenko and Yasmin Jasdavicius every time out until she learns her lesson.
That's it. Yeah, and then she had these weight changes. So I had both of them. I'm going to give you the two that you saved that I was getting rid of. Johan Linnes. He lost 2 in a row, 3 out of 4, back-to-back in the first round. So Johan Linnes, I was cutting, but you saved. And my other one lost 3 out of 4. Polyana Viana. I think it's time to cut her, but you saved her. So, how about Dude Seriously? You have any Dude Seriouslys?
I feel as though I've already touched on several of them, where Buffer's fumbling pronunciation has finally gotten to the point where it affected the way a result was called, where the wrong corner started celebrating. At this point, it's time for an intervention. Pronounce your words. And then a couple people in the chat lots of people in the chat have mentioned it. I think we have as well. Dominic Cruz talking about a cut affecting the perception of a fight and then just continuing to harp on cuts the entire evening.
Oh, he's the worst.
It's just when he's on, he's incredibly insightful and just kind of salty. When he's off, it's weird. It's in weird ways. It's not just like DC and Rogan where they'll just start kind of riffing and talking about other shit like us doing one of our previews. Like Cruz is just weird. And this was a weird one.
Yeah.
Scotty, dude, seriously, where was Rogan? You think Rogan's going to Canada?
No,
Rogan can get all the weed he wants in Austin, and he's like Brock. He probably doesn't trust Canadian healthcare. Like, what if he gets sick?
I'll give you a couple. Dude, seriously, the Cachoeira changing weight twice in this week. Like, dude, seriously, we've already touched on this one. A lot of them we already touched on, but Bruce Buffer with the whole Jordan Woodson, the referee holding up. I mean, that whole situation. Like, dude, seriously, the 4 illegal knees and just getting a hard warning, dude, seriously. And then not only did he cut him open, he's bleeding down the side of his face.
It was fight altering offense.
and probably my favorite one. I love Frankie Edgar. I mean, who doesn't? Obviously, you know, if the UFC had a Hall of Fame that was like serious and people voted and there was ballots and all that, like I'd vote for Frankie Edgar, obviously. Yeah. But Dean Thomas had one of the all-time dumb, and I love Dean Thomas. Like, I think he's such a great addition to the UFC broadcast. When he said, well, Frankie Edgar was the first person in MMA to show that weight classes don't matter. Dude, seriously?
You worked for a promotion that for literally 30 years was designed to prove exactly that. Royce who?
Yeah, like
I don't know. He should have to get like Royce. Or at least he should have to get like Royce triangling giant wrestler. UFC 4.
Dan Severn.
Yeah, Royce triangling Dan Severn tattooed on him somewhere.
Like, come on, seriously. And Dean Thomas is an old school guy. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, Dean Thomas is one of the first guys to benefit from like there being a lightweight division.
Yeah, that's right.
He didn't have to fight people like the size of Frank Shamrock anymore.
He was. I think he was in it when they still called it bantamweight. When lightweight was bantamweight.
Yeah, pre-unified rules.
Yeah. What was your grade for the card?
C+.
Yeah.
Like there was some eye-opening stuff on the prelims. I do love that we got through almost the entire undercard before there was a single foul that required like the ref to do anything. That was nice. But then, yeah, the main card was just so, and this card wasn't incredible on paper to start with. So I give it a C+.
Yeah, I go C+. The prelims really kind of great on the curve. I think the prelims held it up. The main card was, was okay. Toughest question, as always, is the listener of the evening.
Oh man,
great chat tonight. I mean,
Dude, I mean, it feels like pandering to give it to Vincent Collins, who like was throwing money at us all night, like a couple of strippers. Certainly welcome. You don't have to tip us. Like we love you just for checking us out and kicking us a like. You know, I feel bad giving it to John Butterfield because I consider him an industry person. I'm naming all the honorable mentions here. Chris Wiz for fighting off a troll and still fighting off a troll with one hand that just left on his own. I didn't even have to block him. And then, like giving us some insight on the other hand. That was fantastic.
I didn't
Bob Chimpson doesn't need our help because he won $1 million tonight.
Bob Chimpson is a troll. I love him though. I'm going to go with one just because of one line cracked me up. I'm going to go with, and I kept referring to it. I'm going to go with 30C West with his I'm married to Jillian Robinson line. So secretly married to Jillian Robinson. So, plus he was active. He or she was active the entire chat. So, great job. So there you guys have it. We have recapped UFC 97. Wait, yeah, I'll give you one more. Dude, seriously, did you see when they threw up UFC 279 about order on the screen instead of UFC 297?
No, I must have gotten up to get water or something.
The only reason why I remember that is because I almost said UFC 279 instead of 97. So there you guys have it. We will be back. We actually have a week off. Did you know that, Ben?
No, actually, I
didn't. We have a week off, so we were not previewing.
Oh, so okay. Well, when I said I can't record the preview tomorrow, I don't have to worry about it. Happy birthday, man!
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that. So, we'll be tomorrow's my birthday. So, well, tomorrow as in Monday, not.
Dude, it's like 4 a.m. your time. Like it's definitely Sunday now.
So, guys, we'll be back. We're previewing UFC. I don't even know what the next card is. Oh, it's I've already been doing tape study.
Dolidze versus Imavov.
Yeah, Dolidze versus Imavov. So thank you guys for coming. We believe this is the most in-depth preview show, recap show in the world. If you enjoyed this, do all the things like share, do all that. If you're watching this the next day, put a comment in there. Thank you guys on the live chat. We'll check you on the next one.